coronavirus, HIV, Ebola, rabies, influenza, SARS, MERS, Zika virus, rotavirus, West Nile virus, Dejun virus. What do all these have in common? They are all viruses, and that is exactly what this episode is going to be about. This episode is going to be talking about viruses, and in particular, how viruses affect your health. That's right, how viruses affect your health. That's what I'm going to be talking in today's episode. We're going to go into what is a virus, how does a virus affect your health, and what can you do to avoid a virus, or if you have one, what can you do? All of this to help you with your health in today's episode. It's Mondays with Mihaela. That's right, me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love, and appreciate your support. Thank you so much. For any of you who don't know me, this is your first time to the channel, I'm Mihaela. I'm a qualified naturopath, and I'm passionate about all things health, business, and overall success. And I've created this channel, this podcast, to assist you and provide you with simple, savvy, and sustainable health hacks to optimize your health. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about all things viruses. With everything that's happening out there at the moment in the world, the coronavirus is out there and it's been spoken about a lot. I thought I'll make this video to ensure that you understand what are viruses and how they affect our health. So let's get into it. It's going to be an interesting episode. I had fun researching for it, and I'm going to have fun presenting it to you too. We're going to look into what are viruses, how they affect your health, and then how to avoid them if you can, and what to do when you do get them. Let's get into it. So what is a virus? I get so many questions, especially by my followers, by my patients. Mihaela, what is a virus, especially with what's happening out there? Well, one time or another, we have had the cold and flu, especially more vulnerable during the winter season, which us Australia are coming into right now. So the symptoms are usually fever, congestion, coughing, a sore throat, and it spreads through schools like crazy, it spreads through offices like crazy. Everyone gets a piece of it, no matter where you live. So the cold and flu, also known as the influenza, are actually caused by a virus. So viruses are responsible for many other serious, often deadly diseases that you would have heard of, such as AIDS, Ebola, the herpes virus, and now the coronavirus. So they are all viruses. But how can viruses cause so much trouble? Why do they cause so much trouble? And what makes them so vulnerable to spreading so quickly? Well, let's get into the definition of what a virus is. A virus is an infective agent that typically consists of a nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat. It's too small to be seen by light microscope and is able to multiply only within the living cell of a host. So that is the definition of what a virus is. So they can infect a variety of living organisms, such as bacteria, plants, animals, and us humans. Viruses are so small, they're tiny, that microscope is necessary to see them, and they have a very simple structure. Viruses are about 1,000 times smaller than bacteria. Imagine that. And bacteria are much smaller than most human cells. So virus cells are like tiny little things. So virus particles, also known as virion, sounds like Dragon Ball Z type of thing, they consist of the following: the nucleic acid, which is a set of genetic instructions, and they're either DNA or RNA, either single-stranded or double-stranded, a coat protein, which surrounds the RNA or DNA to protect it, a lipid membrane, so this is key, remember it's a lipid membrane, membrane, surrounded by protein coat, only found in some viruses, including influenza. These types of viruses are called envelope viruses as opposed to naked viruses. So when you hear envelope virus, it means it has a lipid membrane. Viruses infect a specific host cell and then replicate themselves. So viral infection begins when the proteins on the surface of a viron bind to specific receptor proteins on the surface of a host cell. Okay, the specificity of these interactions determines the host range of a virus. So what we have gathered here is that the key for a virus is that it cannot live outside of a host. A host can be us humans, it could be an animal, it could be a plant. Okay, so it needs us, and that's what our host is. It needs us to live. The virus needs us. Viruses rely on the cell of another organism to survive and reproduce because they can't capture or store energy themselves. That's the key. So they take our energy, hence why we feel fatigued when we get a virus. They take our energy and use it to replicate themselves. In other words, they cannot function outside of a host, which is why they are often regarded as non-living. Viruses are regarded by most scientists as non-living, and that is why. So outside of a cell, a virus wraps itself up into an independent particle called a viron, right? So it wraps itself up on a surface, right? So this viron can survive, or whatever you want to call it, in an environment for a certain period of time, which means it remains structurally intact and is capable of infecting a suitable host when it comes in contact. This is where the issue is and how people become infected by viruses, by touching that surface, but by getting those cells in, by touching the surface and then touching your mouth, nose, and eyes. When a viron attaches to a suitable host, it depends on the protein molecules on the surface of the viron and the cell. It is able to penetrate the cell. Once inside, the virus hacks the host cell to produce more virons, spreading the virus. The virons make their way out of the cell, usually destroying that host cell in the process, and then head off to infect more cells. So we can see that viruses actually kill our own cells too, which may be good, may not be good. So the key is also that viruses can mutate and combine with one another, and that is the dangerous part. That is the dangerous part when there's a number of viruses, they mutate and they cause a totally new virus. That is the issue with viruses. So how do these viruses enter our body? This is so interesting and I love this part. So viruses lie around in our environment. Like I say, they are non-living, but they can survive on some surfaces for a certain period of time depending on the virus. So, and then comes along the host, then come we along, and then they can enter us through our nose, mouth, and our eyes, and sometimes even through our skin. It depends. The viral replication process begins when a virus infects its host by attaching itself to the host cell and penetrating the cell wall or membrane. The virus genome is then uncoated from the protein and injected into the host cell. Then the viral genome hijacks the host cell's machinery, forcing it to replicate the viral genome and produce viral proteins to make new cells, new virons. Next, the viral particles are assembled into a new virus. The new virus bursts out of the host cell during a process called lysis, which kills the host cells most of the time. Some viruses take a portion of the host's membrane during lysis process to form an envelope around it. Following viral replication, the new virus may go into a new infected host. Many viruses cause diseases in humans, okay? So let's have a look at this little graph that I've got here. So in simple terms, let's look into what happens. So we have the virus, okay? We are exposed to this virus. So first of all, we're exposed to the virus. Then, as we can see, the virus enters your cell, let's say our cell, the virus invades the cell and takes over. It takes over this new cell. The virus uses the host, which is you in this instant, and creates a new virus. The new virus is released sometimes by killing the host cell. It is replicated then, okay? So that's in simple terms, in simple steps, how a virus enters your body. Now you understand that. It's a little bit more, a lot more complex than that, but in simple terms, that is how a virus would enter your body. But now the key question is, how do viruses affect our body? Okay, well, it all depends on your body, your immune system, your defense system, which is your immune system. It all depends on that. How well the virus can avoid your body's defenses. It's kind of like karate. How can it avoid your immune system, replicate itself, and spread to other carriers? Depends on how much harm it can cause you. So once the virus is inside, the cells of the immune system cannot see the virus and therefore do not know that the host cell is infected. And this is what happens with most viruses, and this is where the issue is, because your immune system is always looking. I did a video on it, check it out, about the immune system. Your immune system is always looking and seeing what is myself, what's safe, and what is external, dams and pams, which is not right, okay? But this virus can actually hide in your cells, and then your immune system just looks over it. It's sneaky. But to overcome this, cells employ a system that allows them to show other cells that are inside of them. So they use molecules called class 1 major histocompatibility complex proteins, also known as MHC class 1 for short. And this is used to display pieces of proteins from inside the cell upon the cell surface. It's kind of like putting a little flag out and saying, hey, I've got a virus in me. So if the cell is infected with a virus, the pieces of the peptide will include fragments of proteins made by the virus. So your body can respond in a number of ways. It can respond via cytotoxic cells, via interferons, and via antibodies. So let's look at via cytotoxic cells, what your immune system does. So a special cell of the immune system called the T cell circulates looking for infections. So like that's a security guard, always looking out for those infections. That's the T cell. One type of T cell called the cytokine T cell, it's called that because it kills, yes, it kills cells that are infected with viruses. So the cytokine T cell has specialized proteins on the surface that help them recognize virally infected cells. These proteins are called T cell receptors. So each cytokine T cell has a T cell receptor that specifically recognizes particular antigen peptides bound to the molecules. So if the T cell receptor detects a peptide from a virus, it warns T cells of an infection, which is part of the adaptive immune system. The T cell releases cytotoxic factors to kill the infected cell and therefore prevent survival of an invading virus. So that's one way that your body can react to a virus and remove it. So this is where we need to make sure that our immune system is on point so it can remove it via this process. The other process is via interferons, right? So virally infected cells produce and release small proteins called interferons, which play a role in immune protection against viruses. Interferons prevent replication of viruses. This is key. Listen to that. So interferons prevent the replication of a virus by directly interfering with the ability to replicate with an infected cell. This is what we want it to do. We don't want the virus replicating, so we want these interferons to do the job. They also act as signaling molecules that allow infected cells to warn nearby cells of viral presence. These signals makes neighborhood cells increase the number of the MHC class 1 molecules that I spoke about earlier upon their surface, so that the T cells surveying this area can identify and eliminate viral infections as described above. So the other part is via antibodies. Viruses can also be removed from the body by antibodies before they get the chance to infect a cell, before they even get into the cell. How good is that? Antibodies are protein that specifically recognize invading pathogens and stick. They bind to them. This binding serves many purposes in removing the virus, and this includes firstly, the antibodies neutralize the virus, meaning that it's no longer capable of infecting our host cell, infecting me, you, us. Secondly, mainly antibodies can work together, causing virus particles to stick together in a process called agglutination, and this makes it easier to target. So this makes it easier for the immune system to target these cells, these viruses. A third mechanism is by antibodies to eradicate the virus is the activation of phagocytes. I love phagocytes because they eat it up. It's like just thinking about Pac-Man. So a virus-bound antibody binds to the receptor, and essentially they engulf the virus, eat it up, and remove it out of the body. So then the question is, do these viruses stay in our body? Do they stay in our body? Well, it is really, really a great question, because most of us have viruses that sleep inside of us. That's right. We have viruses that are asleep right now inside of us. They're not waking up because they haven't been activated, they're asleep. So probably 95% of us have been infected with at least one herpes virus. That's right, 95%. But many of you have never had a problem. And these include the herpes simplex virus, the zoster virus, the Epstein-Barr virus, the CMV, the human herpes virus. These are some of them that the part of the herpes family that most of us have. Let's take, for example, the simplex virus type 1, which a lot of people know, which is the cold sore. A lot of people are infected with cold sores and get cold sores. So the herpes simplex virus is one that passes by touch. If you have seen someone with a cold sore, you have seen this in action. For the person, it's probably not the most exciting thing, but yes. So this virus is tricky. It hides from our immune system inside our nervous system. By hiding in the nervous system, this herpes virus can stay hidden in neurons for our entire life. So viral reactivation is associated with several stress factors, including viral infection, nerve trauma, psychological and physical changes such as fever, menstruation, and exposure to sunlight, and immunosuppression. So, however, increasing evidence suggests that reactivation frequency occurs in the absence of such stimuli. So it can even happen without that stimuli. But not all viruses establish latency upon infection. So this is what I was talking about, the latency upon infection. So not all viruses have this, but for example, the cold sore, the herpes virus has this, and this is why an individual doesn't always have cold sores. It comes up when they're stressed, or it just comes up because of external or internal factors of changes. So there's that question answered. But now the question is, how do you avoid viruses? Well, I would say stay inside, locked up in bubble wrap, do not work, do not go outside, do not have friends, do not have family, just stay in one room. That's it, and you won't get a virus. We all know we can't do that. We can't do that, and we are going to be exposed to viruses. But the key is to ensure that our immune system is on point. So if we are exposed to these viruses, we are able to act. Our immune system is able to act and do its thing. It's able to do its thing. That is the key, that our immune system is on point and it's able to do it. So, contrary to popular belief, actually antibiotics have no effect on viruses. So if you have been exposed to a virus, or you've been told that you have a virus, antibiotics will not help this virus. Most antibiotics actually interfere with the reproduction of bacteria, hindering the creation of new genetic instructions of new cell walls. And because viruses do not carry out their own biochemical reactions, antibodies do not affect them. So the key is washing your hands. Washing your hands. We all know about washing your hands. Cover your mouth, nose when you sneeze. Avoid contact with others if you are sick or if you know that they are sick. Keep your immune system updated so it is able to deal with the virus once you are infected. Stay home if you're sick. If your child is sick, keep it at home, because this is where everything spreads. Viruses love to spread when there's a lot of people. They want to attack our host. They want to attack everyone. They love the host, remember? Eat a healthy diet. Stress management is key. Exercise. Don't under-exercise. Don't over-exercise. But you know what? I've put all of this in a 50-page survival guide. It's available to you for free. Click below if you're on YouTube. The link is available there. You'll be able to download the COVID-19 survival guide. When I wrote that, yes, I did it specifically for COVID-19. However, this is important for all types of viruses, bacterial infections. It keeps our immune system on point, so it's able to scan for damps and PAMPs, and then is able to do its thing and remove them properly. Remove them properly. That is the key. So go on, if you're on the podcast listening, visit me on my Instagram at mihaela.raguz, at mihaela.raguz, and it is available there in my bio. Click on the link and download the COVID-19 survival guide. There's 50 pages there. I went all out. I didn't hold back. I gave all that information to you because I know you need it, and I know that you know someone who needs it. So please share that survival guide, read it, implement what's given there. Remember, it is not medical advice. It's for your information purposes only. That is going to assist you in your immune system. Your immune system can thank me later. Yes, it can thank me later. But for now, that is it. If you know someone who's going to benefit from this episode, please share this episode with them. Let them survive. Give them the opportunity to survive, and give them the opportunity to support their immune system the best they can. Do what you do best. Love, like, share, rate, subscribe. Thank you so much. I love and appreciate your support. Until next Monday, love you.